Welcome to Cast of Creators. We're your hosts. I'm Nelson Thal.
And I'm Casie Stewart. We spent our careers in media and publishing, and now we're setting the stage for creative people who inspire us to share their stories.
Cast of Creators is presented by our new social browser called Hover.
Hover makes browsing fun. On Hover, you can follow people and your favorite site to discover and discuss the web all in one place.
It's like the best of browsing and social.
Download Hover, that's HVR, for iOS or Android.
Our guest today is Stacey, a longtime entrepreneur and founder of Beau Florals.
We covered his career ups and downs. We talked about love, home renovations, and this is the first time we've had a puppy on the podcast. So cute. Okay, let's go.
Brock, welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to learn more about what it's like going from hair to being a florist and running a flower business.
I still have to pinch myself and remind myself I had a life and a career all before
And that's
everything.
Because even my wife, Talia, knew of you when we brought your name up. She's like, wasn't he in hair? And then Kate was like, yeah, he was. So she knew of you, and maybe she was on set with you. She's a celebrity and editorial fashion stylist. My wife, Talia, stylist.
You know, that's what's cool about this area and creatives. They all seem to know each other a little bit.
Yeah, I love that about the industry.
Yeah.
And this industry is very much into, supporting each other, which is fantastic. And I don't know if that's a Toronto market thing, but I can't imagine it's like that everywhere.
Hopefully, maybe it's a Canadian thing.
It's a Canadian thing. I think it's a personality thing. I think you can tell pretty quickly when people are genuine and when people are wanting something, and that's why they're being nice to you.
Yeah.
I find. And the cooler you are and the kinder you are, the more you get things done.
Yeah. Lead with kindness. I'm really excited to have you here. When you had first messaged me on Instagram, so this is our first time meeting in person. And you said, I'd love to come on and have a chat and get vulnerable. And right away, I was like, I did a deep dive on all your content and everything you posted. And I was like, absolutely, yes, let's talk about it. And I feel like, there's the flower side of things, but there's also I'm interested to know things that you learned and that you've grown from doing hair and the restaurant in Muskoka.
Oh God, that restaurant.
Yeah.
I forgot all about it.
Yes. Well, we don't have to go there. Nelson and I are both cottage people, and I spent a lot of time in that area. So I think that there's lots of things we can cover.
For sure. Yeah.
So you started with a love of hair and salons, and walk me through that. So that came about. How early did you know that you loved that business?
So honestly, and it's funny, I was just talking to my aunt, but my aunt had a salon in North Carolina. So when I was 12, I started going down and visiting. We were super close as a kid. So I would go and visit all the time. And once I could actually work, I would do shampoos at her salon, go down and make $2 a shampoo. And I feel like I was a very young entrepreneur wanting to make money. If I wanted things, that's how I was taught. Mm-hmm. So I would go down there all summer. And it just kind of worked out that when I turned 18, got my hair license, I went to North Carolina and worked for her.
Oh, great.
And that's where I got the hands-on experience. It was a military town. So as you know, that was when what's her name? What's that? K+8?
Yes.
Victoria Beckham. That is when that was the era of that.
That was that haircut.
So I had to learn how to do a bob.
Talk to the manager. Speak 100%. To the manager haircut.
Absolutely. So that's how I was hands-on. And the only way to learn in hair was to literally practice and do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
so
sure.
She threw me in. I got my experience and came back to Ontario and, did the Aveda thing for a while then realized I needed to get out of that and open my own. So opened my own salon, I feel like over 10 years ago now.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, what is that like? So where was the salon?
So that was in Burlington.
Okay.
I owned a work-live townhouse, so I lived on top of my studio.
Cool. Oh, that's nice.
So myself turned into 2 stylists, and that turned into 4, and opened up my second floor. And then at that point, it was my ex-husband who worked for me. That was a whole story on its own, but that was cool. A lot of experiences with that. And then, it was just, that carried on. It was good, but I found through therapy, I'm a fixer. I'm someone who listens and has an answer for everybody, especially every woman who sits in my chair and tells me more than, their husbands know. Let's be honest here, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally.
But that's started to turn into the soul draining, where I would see someone's name on the computer and it would start to affect my day. It was
I
never.
imagine, because you're like, oh no, Janice is coming in and she's gonna have a heavy load of emotional things that
100%.
she's gonna unload on you.
And not only did she have more money than anybody in that studio, but she wanted the receipt, and she always had the Starbucks, but she was always 10 minutes late. And it was just like that kind of stuff that I'm like, this is actually taking up a lot more soul draining energy.
Yeah, it's like emotional baggage.
100%.
Wow, it's like it would be nice if you had that Uber comfort thing, but the reverse for your clients.
For
you
sure,
just
for sure.
talk, a little bit,
Yeah, like
After
you can
a
ask them to be quiet.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
No, you're right.
It's going to be a silent treatment today, okay?
For sure. And then that was it was great. I was very successful. I feel like I was at a great place. But the problem with that was when you're making good money and you're young, you want to spend it and you want to live. And I've always lived like that. But I think I tried to bite off more than I could chew.
Yeah.
And, this is where I was realizing I don't want to do hair anymore. This is like draining me. And I've always lived a life of like, I'm never just going to do hair. Like there's so much out there for me.
Yeah.
And then when anyone would ever say, oh, but you're good at this, this is what you should do. It's like, that was more reason to prove that I'm capable of doing anything.
Yeah, watch me do something else.
For sure.
So how many clients would you have a day? How many people?
From like, depending on color and cuts, like 5 to 10 clients, that kind of.
So you'd go back to back all through that day.
For sure. And in your house, you're basically starting a little earlier and you're ending a little later.
Like you literally like get up, get ready, go downstairs, go back, go to your room.
For sure.
That's exhausting.
Sure. Yeah.
I know whenever I get my hair done, whenever I go to get my hair done, I usually bring something as a little gift, usually weed, for the person that does my hair. And I try to be not talk too much and also make a lot of jokes so that she, for that thing, it's like she sees that Casey's coming and she's like, oh, good, Casey's coming in today.
And that's
she's
a good feeling. And that
know?
Is honestly a good feeling, because when you're spending 2+ hours with someone who hasn't changed anything in their routine in life for the last 10 years you've been doing them, there is something about recycling your clients that it's true. Like, but how do you do that with someone you've known forever?
Yeah, I've never thought of it.
Right. And it's even harder to change pricing with someone who's been coming to you forever.
My God,
all that, right? So it's a bit of a mindfuck, but I knew I needed to do something different.
So how long did you have that salon?
Just over 10 years.
Oh,
that's a long
you
time.
did that for a decade plus.
Yeah.
And so you literally did have clients that had been going to you for 5+ years.
We grew up together. I even had some of my first babysitters who were, it was cool. And like Burlington, there is community there. There's a lot of community and people don't leave. And if they do leave, they come back.
Right.
So
I've heard that.
Yeah. My dad was totally respected. He was a teacher in Burlington. So like the energy and the Nelson vibe of the high school I went to, like everyone knew everybody. So when I opened my shop, everyone was super supportive. So it was cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
so
you want to say something? No.
Tell us a little bit about your dog's name.
So this is Fern. This is baby Fern. This is my little daughter. This is our first little daughter.
How old is she?
She is 4 months.
She's
yeah.
so cute and soft,
super chill,
and
right?
snuggly.
Right?
We've never had a dog on the podcast.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because she's great. So this is good.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm going to have a photo shoot with her when we're done.
Appreciate it.
So 11 years in.
Yeah.
And you sort of stuff's bubbling to the surface emotionally.
Yep.
And I'm sure that for how long were you thinking of getting out? And then you pulled the
you know what?
Years?
In order to get out, I felt like I needed to leave.
Yeah.
And because again, what are you going to do? Right. So in that, at the closer to the end, I was like working out and then like starting to personal train. But it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Oh, so you decided that you're going to try and crossfade out of this thing.
That was the only way because I still had the clients and the money was coming in,
there?
Right?
Or did you? Okay.
No, but it stayed open when, shortly at the coming to the end, one of my girlfriends was invited to go up to a private dinner series up in Muskoka. We'll say his name is John Smith. So John was hosting a dinner series and I added John on Instagram and we instantly connected. And I fell in love with the idea of John, this hunter, chef, poet at that time.
Goes to Google. No, just kidding.
Yeah, for sure. Let's just say that's what I've learned a lot. I'm learning a lot through therapy that I create ideas of people and things and fall in love with the idea. And of course, I went to the dinner. I was invited. I went with my girlfriend and it was beautiful. It was really, really vulnerable. It was really emotional. And it was basically a feast of food on this open table for 10 people to eat and talk and be vulnerable. Basically, like we went around, shared our stories, and it was really cool. And in a very short period of time, I fell in love with this guy. And again, the fixer in me was like, oh, you want a restaurant up here? Of course, like I want to be a part of it. Let me take money out of my home and I'll buy this historic building that has a restaurant on the bottom floor.
Oh, man.
And I'm not afraid of trying. Like I brought my parents up.
Sure.
My parents were supportive. They wanted to invest. It was cool. It was cool until we got the keys and the previous owner basically flew to, London, England and was gone and basically just shut it all down. We had to start from scratch and I maybe should have worked at a restaurant before I bought one. And again, like this is the growing stuff that like to try to help anybody who's thinking and struggling and wanting a change, it's all possible. But man, you got to do your research first. And I didn't. So, hey, it was a story. It was a story.
Totally. So you arrive the day you get the keys and there is a kitchen there. Like what's there?
The whole place was set up. It was basically, we took like a very, very small town pub, just a little north of Huntsville.
Okay.
And Berks Falls, you know that place?
Yes.
Berks Falls? There is nothing in Berks Falls. And it's a town that no matter how much you try to put into it, I will say this, and I'm sure people in town will agree, there is no change. They don't want change. It's sad.
Yeah. I know. My wife's from North Bay.
Okay.
So we go right past
100%.
there. And I know that north of Huntsville until North Bay, it's pretty sparse.
And I'm so glad to hear. And it's nice that because really, until you're up there, you can. That's the only way to find out.
There's
right?
barely an exit to go to the bathroom.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a Tim Hortons. There's a Tim Hortons, and that's like the busiest place I'd say in town.
Yeah.
So
is that considered Muskoka?
Yeah,
I guess that's considered Muskoka, Berks Falls.
Yeah, we could call it the next town up.
Yeah.
What's that? What do they call it?
Forthus?
Yeah.
Forthus? Yeah, but I feel like they're like sister cities.
Okay, so you get in this building, and what's your game plan? Like, do you start from making a menu, or how do you tackle this thing?
And that was the part that we really should have communicated first. Two, I say A types going in. One has done all the financing. The other one has the ego of a chef who, also has a stepmom who's a very high-end known interior designer.
Okay.
So initially, our plan, our dream was that we were going to open a boutique hotel on the top 2 floors and eventually take this Prince Edward County vibe, this Niagara on the Lake, and have this really cool destination for cool couples, right?
Yep.
His mom seemed interested, and it was like, I've hit the jackpot. Finally, in all my relationships, I finally met someone who's on the same page, wants what I want, and we were going to work our asses off to make it happen. And it was days later that I remember calling a friend being like, I've fucked myself. I have literally...
You knew that early.
I knew.
Oh, man.
And and it was just, everything went wrong. It was just like, and I'd put everything into this, right? And then I eventually bought a house up there about 7 minutes down the street, just because I'm like, there's no way that I can keep on living in this guy's ex's house. In the winter, the pipes were freezing. It's a different world up there.
It is.
Right?
I lived up there for a winter.
It's a different world, right?
And
it's
you
like,
had experienced a successful business basically in Burlington. Like when you started your salon,
for sure,
it felt completely different at the beginning than this.
And I hate to say it, but I think the ego and the confidence in me was there, where I was like, I mean, I had a second home. Like I was renting an apartment in Toronto while still having my place in Burlington, just because I wanted to be, because I could.
Yeah.
I had a convertible at that point. I was really in a good spot. And I'm sad that, I couldn't have just been happy with what I had. But again, it's like, it's a life experience of learning.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't do it over again. I really wouldn't, because I've learned a lot. So it was just that time. It was about 6 months before COVID. we couldn't even do a year making this happen. The money was just going down and down and down. My parents were involved. My grandfather was involved who financially was able to help. And like my world was just kind of crumbling, right? Everyone starting to know, my closest friends were knowing like it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And then I'm driving back 3 hours, I'd say weekly now at this point because money needed to come in. So I was going back to the salon. So everyone that told me, what are you doing? Is now like told you. And like, that hurts,
and that's
right?
Totally.
That really hurts because you're
For
like,
sure.
I know that I fucked up. Now, how do I get myself out of this situation?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, looking back at that time, what are some key takeaways maybe, or like a couple things you learned that, someone else maybe who's looking to open a business that maybe doesn't have the experience that you could offer them?
Number one, like do your research. Do your research and don't ask people who you're closest to because they're thinking what they would do. You really need to ask a lot of people, get a real vibe as to like, is this something new that I'm creating? Is this going to be the same old? Because if it is, people don't want that. We're in a world now where people want excitement. They want color. They want pop, right? Don't be afraid. Number two, like don't ever be afraid because it's all possible, but you need to have support. I always did. I've got incredible parents who have always said, how high, we'll make it happen. Right. So that, and continue to dream. Don't ever be afraid. Right. Like, and ask people because worst you're going to get is no.
Yeah.
I feel like it can't hurt to ask. And when you ask, people get involved, people want to help. And I've always been someone to be like, hey, this is my idea. I know it sounds crazy. What do you think? Can we do it? So it works out. But again, because of Muskoka, I am where I am today. And it was the flowers. So basically in this studio, it all kind of started from what am I going to do up in Muskoka? He's running the restaurant. I'm kind of front of house. I have no purpose here. I'm losing myself. What am I going to do?
Right.
And this was just around that time when lupins, which is a beautiful, do you know the lupin flower? It's a PEI's flower. It looks almost like a trumpet.
Yes.
They come in like purple, pastel, peach. I started cutting them off the side of the highway. At that point, had no money. So it was like, how can I style the restaurant? I've always loved to style. I put flowers everywhere. And then there was like a little Ponink little flower shop right across the street from us. So put more money into them than into the business at that point and would style flowers everywhere. And it started to get a bit of a reputation. And we were turning a pub into more of a gastro pub, a boutique-ier. The locals hated it. But now that the cottagers were coming.
Yeah, it was probably more of like a destination, like, oh, let's 100%. Go here. That's the kind of thing I'd go to.
For sure. The bands were coming in and the style was changing. And like, that is one thing that I would say we did well. And now it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I'm liking flowers. Like, this is fun. So my mom had a fundraiser in Burlington and I was like, could I do the flowers for it? I'll figure out how I'm going to do this. I'll find a wholesaler. Sure enough, I did. And that was it for me. Honestly, that was it. It was people were reacting to the flowers and they were not so regular shapes. It was never a circular round arrangement. And that's literally how I started.
Yes. One of the things that I was looking on your website is that you have like a metric style, right? Of flowers. And like, what is that? I was watching a video where you were making something and there was a wire, and I just loved watching how you did the placements of the different flowers. And what does the metric style mean when it comes to flower arranging?
Well, I think like number one, it's getting away from that traditional style.
Yeah.
I knew what I liked, and I liked that asymmetrical, wild, whimsical texture. And it was happening. And again, like I'm not the first one to do it, but I didn't learn from anybody. It was teaching myself. And when I look back at what I originally did and to now, there's just like this airy romance, bringing a little bit of like an old Victorian, style, I kind of art vibes with this modern, cool, colorful. I love color.
Yeah.
And again, went to school for menswear in New York a while back. So like I've always been creative. I've always wanted to design.
Yeah.
And for someone who doesn't like doing the same thing every day, this was perfect. I never had to. I never ever had to do the same thing twice.
So you must be constantly sourcing flowers. Are you?
Weekly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weekly.
And where
Okay.
did they come from?
Literally everywhere around the world. From Ecuador to Holland to our backyard to Niagara, all over,
And
depending on the season.
so they'll ship them in, grown or
Ready to go.
ready to go. They'll ship them into your where's your headquarters now?
So right now we went from Burlington to Grimsby,
Okay. I
and
know
we're
Grimsby.
right in the farm country.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
All my growers are within like 20 minutes, which is incredible. I've created this really cool space we built behind the house to give me that.
Do you have a greenhouse? Is it a greenhouse?
So it's funny, the property that we bought actually had a quarter of an acre. So
Wow.
behind my studio, we own the land behind. So originally the plan was to grow while learning, because again, this is still all new to me.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning. Okay, I thought I wanted to grow. There's no chance in hell.
It's because you don't have the
full-time-
land, or it's a full-time
It's
commitment.
a full-time commitment, and
Yeah,
I see my friends who do
Growing
it.
anything is a full-time
For
commitment.
sure. To do it all, I
I've-
see what they do. One day you just kind of grow up and you realize you can't do it all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let certain people do what they
Yeah,
do best,
Yep.
Yeah.
and I'll focus on what I do, right?
How much land would a grower have to make a business out of it?
It really depends. I think you could have a small little bit in your... I know friends in Toronto that basically rent the front or the back of people's homes and grow. And it's just enough to make what they need to for their retail space. So
Let's say if you wanted to make it your entire business. If you wanted to grow flowers and it was your entire business,
acres.
you'd need like
acres and
okay.
acres. Yeah, for sure.
And
At
probably-
least like 3-4 acres, I think, depending on, right? Because if you're going to be a retail florist, it's going to be different than maybe being a wedding florist, and what you're growing and what's available and what's in season. And our weather hasn't been the best. It's been really hot, but when it's cold, it can ruin everything. And when it's rainy, it can ruin everything as well. So you learn, like you're learning.
So ideally, you have are most of your growers somebody with 10 acres with with greenhouses?
Absolutely, for sure. To the biggest ones that like mainly, work with grocery stores and restaurants and that kind of stuff, that basically will get the cheaper stuff for the grocery stores, where it's like your mums, your carnations.
Yeah.
And then they've got like the luxe stuff that is flying in from Ecuador, from Holland, really depending on what. Like basically our peony season, say it's May, I can get peonies now
Right.
from the direct grower. They're $16 a flower, but there are people
Delivered,
crazy
like,
enough.
just to your door, $16.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. A flower.
A flower.
A flower. I remember I wanted to get, in September, I wanted to get peonies for my mom because she always had them in her garden. And I talked with someone. They're like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, I changed my mind because it was
nuts,
was a monstrous amount.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you're not going to go out of season. If you go out of season, it's so expensive.
Well, but and I
Like
think
for
that's
somebody-
what's kind of cool these days about being in it, where like, hey, if a bride or a client is looking for something, I'm happy to.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
can-
just recently I did a wedding at a restaurant for the daughter who was getting married. They went all out. We're talking big time just for specific flowers in season elsewhere.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
I love it, right? And the more you get comfortable, now it's like originally you're getting things on a Thursday morning, prepping them for a Saturday wedding. And then you start to realize and you understand flowers where like you can cut them a week ahead because you want them to be open.
Right.
Right. That's the romance that I'm trying to create now, where it's almost at their end. So it's not to have after. It's so that they're fully open. You can see the center. They're
They're in
wild. They're in bloom. They're even starting to change color, like fading out, which I think is also this like the romance of it. Yeah. So it's a learning lesson, but it's
Right,
been a
'cause
fun one.
You've got to time that whole thing. It's a lot
All of
like
it.
cooking, actually, in the sense that
For sure.
you're timing. So if you have a wedding, let's say you got a wedding Saturday.
Yep.
You got to have those flowers at your place in water starting to bloom for Saturday. So if there's different types of flowers, you're timing them completely. They're on different clocks.
You know the ones like say
Oh, that's
like a
tricky.
tulip is cool. I love tulips. Some people
me
think,
too.
oh, tulips don't last. I'm like, it's bullshit. Everything lasts depending on how you take care of it, right?
Mhm.
From direct sun, the warmth of the water, how clean the water is. But basically a tulip that you want to open and flip to give it a lot of texture. This would be something I would open up on a Tuesday prior, leave it out in the sun, in water to just slowly continue to open. So yeah, it's a total like waiting game. Some work and some don't. They're flowers, right? Not everything is going to work.
Yeah, there's kind of a beauty in that.
Which is cool. Yeah.
So what's the biggest event you've done? How many people? You'd go by how many arrangements?
Or
how many arrangements?
People or arrangements or
I'm still I'm learning again because there's all different types, and I would say I'm in the middle, and I'm loving it. It's where like I can do a $9,000 to $15,000 budget with me and another designer, maybe another one day of, but like where I'm actually making money. I think a lot of times some of these designers, like, well, first off, a lot of creatives aren't good financially, right? They don't want to do the other side, the admin.
Yeah.
So they look the part, but they've got 10 staff there. And it looks unreal, but by the time you break it all down with how much you're doing before and after, you've got a team that comes in to clean up. You kind of start to ask, am I making money or am I, that's what I didn't want to do.
Margin.
Yeah. So you learn slowly. But I think it's more like lately, I feel like even like the coolest experiences are when I get to like even work with certain brands.
Yeah.
The Bay was a really, really cool gig that I got that I was very lucky last summer. And that kind of opened up this confidence of like, there's so many things I want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like, when you know it's coming, you just have to be a little more patient and get back into like creating content.
And be consistent. I mean,
that's a big one.
I've had a blog for a long, long time. I don't need to say how many years. But, I think that's the one thing that's been consistent, like, for 17 years. But I mean, when you want to grow your brand or your business, publishing regular content is really, really important.
And it's tough because like real humans, we are not always in a good mood. We are not inspired. The weather is shitty, and like that. And you maybe just want a day where you want to do absolutely nothing, get on that couch.
Don't fucking feel like it.
Yeah.
It's the creator life is definitely really challenging. And especially, for you could have a wedding coming up, a shoot with a brand partnership, then who knows, family things. And it's like all this stuff happening. And then you're like, oh, and I got to be like, hi, today I'm doing this.
But I think that is hard. Where ding, ding, ding. It's like the more, I wish people could like own that shit more online to be like, oh my God, wow, like your world isn't perfect. Like, an hour before this, you were a mess. Yeah. And I think that's what people connect more from at times, especially these young girls that look at these like, beautiful women that it's like, we both know all your life is not perfect. Like, man, I wish we get a little bit more real and vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuances though to your routine that you're probably underestimating the amount of people who are interested in them.
Well,
Yeah, me. I love seeing the behind the scenes.
Yeah. But like you said though, it's like you're in a day where I have all these ideas of what I want to do, but I'm so damn behind. Like things came in late. I don't want to bitch about the person that like dropped everything off 2 hours too late. And now I'm like, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're playing catch up. And I find this happens with me. It's like, even when it comes to updating my blog, I'm like, I haven't updated my blog, but I mean, I've been doing maybe Cats of Creators Social and then working on another client and working at different things. And I've been in the internet, but then when it comes to the point that's like, oh my God, I didn't post anything on my story about this, or I forgot to post something because I've just been like in the rat race.
You can only do so much.
Yeah.
You can only do so much in one day.
Yes. But a lot of your content that you're doing for Reels and your content's great.
Thank you.
And I haven't watched a lot of your stories because you were just meeting. But, look at the big reality shows like Gold Rush and Deadliest Catch and all the Ice Road Truckers. Okay. They've taken like content you'd never dream of actually it doing very well. I mean, these Ice Road Trucker guys, they wouldn't, in a million years, they never imagined they'd be on TV. But like, for example, if you have an event coming up Saturday and you're like, I've got an event coming up Saturday, these flowers are late. Like they should have come here on the Monday. They're coming on late Tuesday. I got to get these things to bloom Saturday. Like that stuff's good stuff.
And all I'm going to say is I've got a good friend and I hope you're listening. I hope she's going to be listening to this. And she's unreal. And she is a TV producer. We did some really cool stuff for the Food Network. I did an episode of the Chocolate Showdown.
Cool.
She is always rooting. I know she's pushing stuff. In the perfect world, my dream would be to be a host of a floral competition.
Yeah.
And not so much of the Netflix vibe of what it was for, what was the
one Brianny was on?
The fight, the flower fight.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
It's more plant-based floral design and a little bit more like quirky. And I want to be a host. Like I know such incredible designers that I feel like to do wild stuff.
Well, we're putting it out there right now.
We're putting it out there. I know it's going to happen. And again, I even would love to bring back 4 Weddings from TLC.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you, but like I watched that every time. I cried, I laughed. And I competed, right?
Yeah.
And I think we need that again. I see some of my friends that have these really cool shows, and I'm like you said, people want to learn. They want to they want to be emotional.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to bring that back. There isn't right now like a really cool floral inspiring show.
No.
So it's going to happen.
I love that. Have you done, have you done any like workshops? Because I would do a workshop.
100%. That's how I started. That was it. During COVID, that was the only way. We would basically create these buckets ready to go. Whether it was flower, like a floral arrangement or a wreath for the holiday, we would create these buckets. They would pick them up on our porch. And then, at 7:00 at night, all these couples or girlfriends would all be on their computers with wine and we would do it up. You know what I mean? It would just be such a cool night. And that's literally how I continued to grow during COVID, where it's like, how am I going to make money and connect with people? And, 10 people turned into 20. We had a workshop of almost 50 people.
Wow.
And that's, again, the community that I'm around, that like women supporting women. Yeah. And too, like incredible husbands. Again, there would be guys on a Saturday morning before we opened being like, dude, my wife loves your flowers. I'm here. You know what I mean? I heard you sell out. And that was what I think like brought me so much positive energy. And this, I wouldn't even say ego. I would say this confidence to be like, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
And when 5,000 followers and then 10,000 followers and then my best friend worked for me, it's like, how do we keep on going? Right. Yeah. And through COVID, we were able to advertise the most on social media to get people interested,
Yeah. The workshop's really nice because you're able to actually just let them assemble it.
For sure.
So the connection with you actually becomes completely different than if you're doing the entire arrangement and doing everything.
For sure. The learning, the understanding, like, oh my God, like I get these. And it's always a funny joke when a guy gets a girl a bouquet and he spent no more than $14.99 at the grocery store on his way home. Like she doesn't like really any of them.
Yeah.
He doesn't maybe even know what he grabbed. The thought that counts, it's super cute.
Yeah.
But how to take some of those basic flowers and I can like manipulate some of these blooms to look like a very different flower. And that was the aha on like this Marilyn Dennis kind of stuff that I would go on and show people how to take like a basic grocery store bouquet and turn it into your own arrangement.
Oh my gosh, right. I'm going to look that up. And
you should do something this winter for sure. You should join one of my workshops.
I would love to. Yeah, what are your favorite flowers to work with? Of all the flowers?
That's a great question. Honestly, still, the tulip is one of my favorites just because I know how to manipulate them, where you basically like flip the petals the opposite direction and it looks like more like a wild flower.
Oh, you flip them so they bend out.
You flip them backwards.
Okay.
Again, I think this would be a really fun thing to do with you and we can kind of
Oh my God, I would love to. I love flowers. I grew up in Cambridge and my mom had a big garden, but my family's from New Zealand and my Nana had this huge, huge garden with flowers. My granddad took care of it. She took care of it. So like going back there and just the beauty and, in New Zealand, everyone has like
especially the wild
big garden.
There. Yeah.
And
way more wilder flowers, more like desert-like palm. Yeah.
So I love flowers. I don't have a big garden now, but I would love to do something fun with you and flower arrange.
Sure. I think flowers just bring out this romance for people. And men were buying, during COVID, men were buying flowers more than they ever were. It wasn't a female thing anymore. It was just a really cool thing to
find joy.
For sure. And you wake up every morning in your kitchen on your island, there would be a little arrangement. It's pretty cool. It's really cool to see like how flowers are super cool again. And, maybe they always were, But I think just for me to see how it really affects emotionally people's lives, it's pretty cool.
So rewind to when you were talking about the business you had with an ex of yours.
Yeah, now 2 businesses with exes.
Okay, yeah, you have 2 businesses with exes.
Note to self, don't do that again.
Don't do that again. Don't do that again.
So, what are some of the reasons they didn't work out, and how does a business thrive with a partner?
Well, you know that saying. There's a lot of sayings out there like don't
like cliches
mix,
that actually
are
like
for don't work with family or friends. I don't think
don't
that's
shit
true.
where you eat.
Yeah, all that. I really don't think that has to be it. Because I think this is old bullshit that our parents or our grandparents told us and it sticks with us. I think that's bullshit. I think you can work with anybody. But I think where I went wrong is I didn't really know these people. And I have a tendency to fall in love first before being friends. And I think if you don't have trust and you're kind of thinking really like, what are we doing? Is this for us or is this for you or is this for me? You know?
Yeah.
So I think I've just learned that you know, trust is number one. Trust is really and really communicating the intentions. Because if you just know, hey, listen, I've always wanted my own this, it's my dream. It's like, well, how much passion and how much work are you going to put into it to make happen? Because no matter what I do, it's 110.
Right.
I'll change up my idea, but it's always going to be 110. So that would be something to think about with who you're getting into business with for sure.
So in those businesses, did you find that you were putting in the work and the other person wasn't?
Just different types of work. Like, I think when people meet me, you know, my husband and I now, we work at our relationship. We have an incredible therapist that works with us just because we're not communicating always the same way. And instantly it's like a criticism turns into defensiveness and it starts.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know. Life's crazy. What did you ask me again? I'm like, I feel like I'm like,
no. You start thinking about it.
I really started to think and it's like, yeah.
Trust, communication.
Yeah.
Trust and communication would be the top 2
for sure.
Success in business with a partner.
For sure.
Also, probably very important to note in a relationship with any partner, trust and communication.
But I think I've even heard that there can't really be 2 stars. Like one needs to be the supporting lead or the supporting
you can't
character.
have 2 leads.
Yeah. And that works with my husband and I, where he's just supportive. He loves what I do,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people, when I start dating them, fall in love with, again, the idea of what it's all about and what it's going to be like. And then realize halfway through, I can't keep up. He's always on the go. I know how to work, but I also think I know how to take some chill time and go on vacation. But I'm learning through therapy that I like the excitement. I'm an Aries. I don't know if that's it, but I like the go excitement of change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already talking in 2 days, our house goes on the market. We just moved in.
You're the farmhouse?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
where are you moving?
So we're in Grimsby now and we found this beautiful dream home in Ancaster.
Okay.
Okay.
We're
Ancaster.
2 bedrooms right now. This is 5 bedrooms.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nice.
It's on a hill. It looks like something from, it's the kind of space that I could have ceremonies there.
Oh, beautiful.
It's honestly, it's like the orange brick, this kind of heritage property.
It's got the romance you're looking for.
3-car garage that I would convert into my studio, do glass on the one side. I can see it just like what I have now. And if it doesn't work out with the market right now, it's a bit of a shit show. So if it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be. That's how I'm looking at it.
Nelson just bought his first house.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
They move
Around here?
in a month.
Around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Less
move
than a
next
month.
month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What area?
Yorkville,
Literally right
around the
here.
corner
Okay,
from
cool.
here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what? For years, I was trying to figure out, because I have a daughter now.
Yep.
Where
I
the
saw
heck
that.
are we gonna?
Congrats.
What are we gonna do? Thank you. What are we? Where are we? Because couldn't figure it out, because my wife and I completely function in this area. My office is here. Her work is here.
Yeah.
Or downtown.
Now, can you guys function in a 2-bedroom? Does that 2-3 bedroom or house?
Well,
Condo?
right now we're in a 1+1.
And Now, and honestly, does it work?
No, a 1+1. You can make it work because we've made it work.
Yeah.
But no, a 1+1 is not really something you can. If you have the option to move, then you're probably going to move to a bigger place if you have a child.
Well, there's also something fun about shopping and buying new pieces every couple of weeks, months, years. And when you've got a smaller space, like realistically, where's the other stuff going to go?
Oh, yeah, you can't. You basically you'd have to get rid of things to buy things.
For sure. So you must be excited now you get to start buying more. And
he's telling me every day.
I because I love all of that.
For sure.
So I really love homemaking, making a house a home. I love to do.
Well, especially it's one of the best parts to be in a marriage with a baby and doing it together. Like there's something really beautiful about that. It's fun. That's what you do on your weekends, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't find it very stressful. But like, for example, I'm not biting off a big project. I'm not renovating. I would not renovate at where I am in life. Just it's not necessary for me to.
Or just like you just know you couldn't live through it.
It's not a good use of my time.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now.
Yep.
And even in the future, I'd be very hesitant to renovate.
Yeah.
I'd much rather tear down and build, or just find something that is a tear down to build. Just because I've seen people go through renovations, and if you're doing, maybe a little bit of a renovation, I could manage. But as soon as you're tearing off every piece of drywall and you're just going down to the studs, it's a lot of work and a lot of energy. And at the same time,
you can't also stop your regular life.
Right.
Where are you going to live?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't tackle that now. So we were trying to figure out what to do. And we love a condo, but during COVID, we weren't allowed guests at our condo.
Really?
And we didn't like that. We didn't want with a daughter, and not that you're going to necessarily, the odds are you're not going to have another pandemic, okay?
Sure. Yeah.
But having a daughter and knowing that, you want to be able to have friends over, you want to be able to have family over, you want to be able to have visitors. Imagining not being able to have visitors with like a 2, 3, 4-year-old is just like, So we didn't want to move to another condo, but we love a concierge, and we have an indoor pool, and Ariel swims all the time. So I didn't know how to slice it. I couldn't figure it out.
You found the
I had boxes.
place.
I looked at tons of places, north of here, all over the place. You check a couple boxes out of like a 12-box list.
And probably, $300,000 more than like we even want to pay.
Yeah.
Oh, couldn't. I had to wait for the market to come down.
Yeah.
I couldn't stomach what was going on a year ago. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what we did end up finding was a home. It's a townhome built into a condo.
Okay, cool.
So you get the best of the condo.
Yeah.
And you get the best
Is there a pool?
of a house.
Yeah.
There's a pool.
Okay, so it checked the box.
It checked
a
every
staggering
box.
amount of boxes.
Cool.
And so that's our next step.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
It is. It really is. And like, I hope you enjoy all of it because it's a big, big step.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
It's we're incredibly thankful to have Ariel, and we feel very fortunate to be, because a lot of these things are completely out of your control.
For sure.
I
see a big social party of all your,
I think that we're going to do that.
Together.
I think we'll see that in the
we
spring.
definitely like to have a cast party for a cast of creators.
I think that we'll do that in the spring.
100%.
Yeah, really, really fun.
For sure.
We will hire you to do the flowers.
100%.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw your Instagram too. Like your wife looks really cool, and like I'd love to pick your brain about stuff too. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, how old were you when you got your first tattoo?
God, young. Those tattoos I don't even have anymore.
Yeah. Did you cover them up?
Those are
I've covered up a few already.
God, if I could tell anybody young who's listening who wants to start getting tattoos, give your head a shake, number one, and start really thinking about what you want.
Mm-hmm.
There's some beautiful stuff out there. There's incredible artists. Don't be an idiot like I was and just get random shit. It's so I cringe when I see certain people, with like barbed wire on their arm or something. I got to watch what I say, right? I don't have any, but
certain
you can just tell. It's like,
there's certain ones.
And there's a shade of black now that like you just know it was from the early
long
90s.
time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long time. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done
you're
with
done.
tattoos.
Yeah.
I think the older you get, the more painful.
In what sense are you done? Like you're covered, or you're done as in you're not getting it anymore?
Enough.
I'm done with the pain tolerance. Like, my neck was the last one I did.
Oh God, that would hurt so much.
Well, the first time, again, I've been going to this artist. She's great, but she used a different, whatever she used on me, like coolant to clean up every time. And it had like the menthol in it.
Oh, and it stung.
I was like, what did you, like, even the beginning was fine. As soon as she did that, it was done. And I said halfway through, there's men all around me getting like, big pieces. And I was like, has anyone ever quit? Like halfway through? And she's like, yeah. I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like whatever you put on me, it's like, it's stinging. So, a month later I go back, I had medication with me and it still hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like that was the universe saying, finish off what you've done and get out of here.
I'll tell you, I watched that Ink Master show, or I think I watched a couple, maybe more than a couple episodes of that show. That was a good show.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool.
I like, you know what? I like watching people try and execute a complicated tattoo.
Totally.
But it would never be a canvas for one. But I like watching somebody because there's a lot of interesting, it's a great art form.
For sure.
I'd like to try tattooing, not someone, but those pigskin canvases.
I was literally going to say.
Are you on a banana? I actually have some at home because I bought a tattoo kit during the pandemic. I did one stick and poke tattoo on myself, and then I realized that I'm not going to do that again.
So is it more just the fact of like, because again, there was once a time that I like, maybe I could do like
tattooing.
I used to do makeup at one point too. So I was like, eyebrows were, becoming a thing. And I was like, okay, maybe like I see some people making crazy money on this. Should I try to practice? Because it's like, I think it's all just about the hand.
Yeah.
Like
and the pressure.
Yeah. All that, right?
Before I bought that tattoo kit, I went super gel tattoo and I used like India ink and a pen on a pencil, and I was living at the cottage in the woods. And I gave myself a tattoo. Do not recommend doing that. It's only a couple dots. But I respect good tattoo artists for what they do, and I will not try again.
Can you tattoo any leather? Like, can you tattoo white leather? Something that's white leather, like a purse. Can you tattoo
I don't think you could tattoo. You'd have to. That's why tattoo, like leather is, what's it called when you burn it in?
But they practice
branding,
on
like the
pig skin
branding?
stuff,
or
don't
there's
they?
these. You can use a banana skin, and you can also use.
Yeah, but that's
you get
fine.
like a. Yeah, I guess a pig skin. But there's also like a rubberized skin that I got with my tattoo kit that you can try on.
Plus, I think half of it is like piercing the skin and then it healing to make it look the way it does.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think even the pig skin, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't even know if I could even like be okay with. Yeah. Like I would.
It's not a live pig.
No, for sure. But even just like, no.
It's like,
just a piece of.
Like a hunk
a
of
little
prosciutto,
square,
I think you can tattoo.
I'd probably
with the
do
skin on
it.
You go over to Italy and practice.
Yeah. I'd probably do it.
I mean,
I'd love it.
That's
Little
also
tattoo
like a
class.
workshop I would take if I could go to a tattoo, because I like art and drawing, and I think that was something that would be cool. To do.
I'd be into all those types of workshops. I'd do a welding one.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be into a welding workshop.
My dad can teach you.
I want to do pottery. I've done a couple.
I do
pottery.
a pottery
I really
shop,
want to
too.
like over the winter. I want to get into like what else can I do with what I do.
100%.
Make my own, vases for weddings and.
Any glass blowing around in this
I watched that show.
Yeah, Brittany was on the show.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
I'm not really into glass. I've never really been at glass. I feel like,
but pottery, I think.
Pottery for sure. It's always
dangerous.
sexy. I feel like glass is kind of like,
well, especially
contemporary
pottery,
or like
and you're doing the wheel.
Yeah, there's one guy I follow on Instagram who's unreal. Like he's also incredibly attractive and does pottery naked, pretty much.
Send me his account.
Yeah, he's like LA. It's like you're not quite sure what is, if he's gay, straight. He's just super, super cool. I think he does it in his trailer.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's my inspiration for the winter.
Yeah, I think every winter I try
That's
and
great.
do like a winter kind of like, how can I make myself better project? Like this winter, I've got a masterclass subscription. I've got a couple of classes I want to take. Like the winter prior, picking a different thing. I think for the winter, it's good to give yourself a goal, because I always think that when spring comes, tying it back to flowers is that's like my time to bloom. I'm ready to bloom,
sure.
like something. I'm ready to come out with a new skill, or I worked out a lot the winter or something. But I think if you can give yourself some kind of project to work through that dark winter, then you're ready to bloom as a person in spring. That's really a great thing.
I agree. I think that's, I think bang on. Like, I think we're sometimes so routine to like expect someone else to bring that out in you. But like, you really need to like figure out on your own. And when people say, oh, I don't have like a hobby, I'm like, oh man,
that sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks, right? Because it's like,
Find one.
I dive into countless things.
yeah, but like, is it insecurity? Is it like worry? Is it going to look good? Like, are you not creative? It's like, but yeah, like money can be some sort of hobby if there's a way that you can turn it into something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even helping a friend out who needs accounting.
Yeah.
Right now,
Right.
I'm diving deep into electricals, like house wiring.
Okay, cool.
I was watching my electrician.
Yeah.
And this was similar to our night nurse. The first time we had the night nurse there, okay? The first
That's
she lasted,
in an earlier episode if you
lasted-
want to know about the
she lasted
night
40 minutes, okay?
nurse.
I was watching the electrician work on my switches. And I know a bit about wiring, but I've never actually done a nice deep dive into it.
Yep.
I'm watching it. I'm like, he's not doing anything I'm not, interested / capable of doing here. And the tools, like he's got a tester, you know what I mean? Like the big tool he's got is a tester to figure out which wire's live. Well, that's not much of an investment in a tester. So I get the tester and I'm starting to work with my new home automation system. And electrical wiring is a total Wild West. It's nobody has standardized this stuff. You'd expect some type of form of standardization around electrical wiring. I'm in I won't say the developer, but I'm in a prominent developer built building. Okay. You open up, you take 4 switches out, and this gang box looks completely different from the 4 switches in the other gang
100%.
box. And like, it's pathetic. Actually, it's an embarrassment. Okay. Electrical, what I've seen
Sure.
behind
What they get
switches.
away with is nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
There's like a coffee cup in there practically. You know what I mean?
there's a half
Seriously.
smoke cigarette in.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Yes,
sure.
all
They
the
don't
time.
care.
They don't care. And it's
Yeah.
pathetic
Yeah.
because
the first one gets all the proper stuff when the guy comes in to do the inspection. They don't inspect them all.
right.
From what I know, they do a couple. None of them look the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm diving into that. So that's one of my latest. But there's only really 2 things. There's your switches. I mean, I'm not dealing with the electrical outlets, not changing outlets.
But you know what?
And there's the
I encourage you to
lights.
do more because honestly, once you get an electrician to come in, I used to do the same thing. I would get someone to come in and change my chandeliers. I thought it was difficult.
Mhm.
YouTube. Literally,
Yeah.
YouTube videos
I
in
learned so
10
much on
minutes.
YouTube. Yeah.
It's literally connecting and having someone there to either hold something super heavy. All you're doing is switching out different, chords.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're saving yourself thousands at times, like maybe not, especially
140.
on, if something like with the LED and what's that called? Like the up and down?
Oh, dimmer?
The dimmer. That's the difference. Like Louise and I put in our chandeliers in this house to save some money, but it was always the dimming that is like, okay, you learn about the circuit board.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the pottery hobby sounds interesting. I would join you too at a class
Yeah.
if you wanted to do a pottery class. You've done a couple. I want to work with that wheel. I want a wheel class.
And it's really cool when you get a good vibe going.
Yeah,
it's
bet.
just like you're going at your own pace and you end up with something really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you end up with something that is not that great and you got to keep working at it. I have a friend who is going to be on the podcast soon and she recently took up pottery classes and she said that it was a really humbling experience to learn something new and to try and work through making something. And now she's done a few things. And Fancy also mentioned she wants to do pottery. I think it's like
exciting class
there's
we're going to put together here.
There's something I feel that could be relaxing and challenging and inspiring about it.
For sure.
Beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it, Brock. We should do that.
I'm always down.
Yeah.
I think it'd be if somehow we could like get these mics into a pottery class where like they can hear us doing and
Yeah,
you know what
we
I
could
mean?
do a pottery episode. That would be fun.
Oh yeah, for
Totally.
I
sure.
love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm so thankful to be here today. It's so cool. I appreciate you asking me and that's great. Thank you.
Oh, you're so
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
And I look forward to doing a floral workshop
Hell
with
yeah. Thank you guys.
Great. Thanks for tuning in to this episode with Brock Stacey and his special guest, Fern. Check out his recent work at beauxflorals.com. That's BEAUX, florals.com.
you. Watch previous episodes of Cast of Creators on YouTube, listen on your favorite podcast platform, or visit castofcreators.com for show notes and info.